Attention is in short supply these days, yet it is important to executive function, doing well in school, and overall life success. Hi, I'm Jeff Coleman, and this is Attention, ladies and gentlemen, a show for teachers and parents who want to learn more about attention and what we can do to help our children be more successful in school and life. So if I could have your attention, we will get started. Hey, before we get started today, I wanted to tell you about a fun way to train attention skills from our show's sponsor, BrainLeap. Where you look and where you are planning to look is where you are placing your attention. The Attention Arcade leverages this connection to train attention skills with specially designed video games that children control using only their eyes. You can learn more by going to attentionarcade.com. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm happy to have Dr. Leanne Chukoskie, who is a professor at Northeastern University, join us, and she is also a co-founder of BrainLeap Technologies. Welcome, Leanne.
Hello, Jeff. I'm honored to be here. It's exciting.
So, to get started today, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started in the research you do that involves attention and everything that you're doing?
Sure. Appreciate the opportunity. So I started out, I'm a neuroscientist by training. My PhD is in neuroscience systems, to be exact. And I've been studying eye movements for all of my career. But I really got into autism research because of a family connection. And so I really found this to be, please ignore the dogs in the background. We're having fun and distracting our attention. But I got interested in studying attention and particularly how eye movements influence attention because I learned that children on the autism spectrum tend to have specific orienting challenges that manifest actually really early. They're among the first signs of autism. And so this is something that, together with my colleague Jean Townsend at University of California, San Diego, she has been studying this for a very long time. And we felt that we really could make a difference. And instead of just measuring attention, we might actually be able to intervene and sort of make a change and create a tool that allows people to improve their skills in attention. And so this was really exciting, particularly because at the time, and it seems to still be the case, most research dollars go toward discovery research and not toward this kind of intervention, translation and intervention research. So it's really important to push things in that direction. So that, we had a National Institutes of Health grant to do this work. We had great results showing that kids and teens and even some young adults who engage these attention training games, so these are video games that you play with your eyes, they actually had great effects in training attention, both in terms of orienting, but also in terms of just the other aspects of attention sort of being focused. So the way we generally think of attention.
So if we can take a step back, and could you give a definition of attention for our audience to let them have a better understanding? It's not just paying attention, when you tell your kid that. It's, there's a lot more to it. So could you just share with us how you define attention?
Sure. I'm struggling right now because there are dogs that are distracting me and pulling my attention away in the background. Moment. But it is squirrel. Exactly. So, there have been lots of colloquial definitions of attention. William James has sort of famously described attention as that thing that everyone knows what it is. But yet it is actually difficult to define because it's such a large construct. Attention, there are components of attention that mean everything from your level of awareness, sort of like alertness and ability to engage, to focus. So the kind of thing that we measure as a challenge in individuals with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD. And then this sort of orienting attention, sort of the speed and fluidity with which you orient toward things in your environment, and not just everything in your environment, but things that are task relevant, things that are important for you, not the squirrel. There are dogs behind me running around, right? But focusing on what my goals of the moment, right? So this podcast is part of the goal of the moment. So I'm focusing on you and not the rambunctious, bundles of fur that are twirling around behind me. So attention is this collection of things and the interaction between them. And that's partly why it's kind of hard to define, because there's no really just one concrete, 5 words I can give you to describe what attention actually is.
Okay. And so what are some of the different names that they give to the components of attention that might be important for teachers and parents to really understand and know a little bit about?
Absolutely, and that's a lot easier. So the orienting aspect of attention, this is where the eye movements come in. So my eyes and head should be oriented toward what I'm interested in taking in. We've got a specialized region of our vision that is called the fovea, and we want to point that at the things that we want to take in high resolution information from. So this is where orienting attention comes in. We also want to focus, which means to sort of reduce the salience of the things that are outside of that thing we're orienting to. So we want to, reduce distractions, sort of ignore distractions. We want to inhibit their pull to resist the urge to orient toward the bumbling dogs in the background. The other component of attention is this component of alertness that I talked about, like just sort of being like not too sleepy, right? Sort of active, engaged, and like ready to go. So those I think are the 4 components that are primary that parents and teachers would interact with most.
Okay, great, thank you. And, parents are really thinking about this. Teachers are thinking about it because there are a lot of kids, they're spending a lot more time on social media. They're playing games. They're are really demanding their attention, doing multiple things. I know I've seen my own children watching a video while listening to music and, I dread to even say it, but also doing homework. What are some of the things that parents can do to help kids recognize what attention is, how they can apply it better? If a child's struggling, are there some things they can do that really could benefit them?
Yeah, so I guess if there was one PSA that I could try to get to, like the teenage set that, I've seen this too, I work better, Mom, when I'm listening to music and watching my favorite, twitch of a game and trying to do my math. Like, absolutely not. Like, if, as a scientist, if I was measuring, your attention with our, tightly controlled psychophysical tasks that are very finely titrated, I can tell you for sure that you are being distracted by these other things. And what we don't do well as humans is switch between things. And that's what these teens are doing. And they're learning to do it in a way that feels better for themselves. But what they're actually doing is just like taking a task they don't want to do and switching between tasks they enjoy more. But there's a cost to each of those switches. And so again, if I could sort of wave a magic wand and make there be a public service announcement, it's to really make it clear that this is not the way to really attend to your work. You'd be far more effective, far less error prone if you actually focused on one task at a time and not distracted with your favorite music, your stream of your favorite game. So that's a thing. What could you do? You asked also, what could you do to sort of build skill in this domain? So, you can practice not being distracted, for one. Like, that's actually a thing. It's sort of building the will to like, I'm really uncomfortable right now. I don't like writing this essay. I'm going to go see what my friends are doing on Instagram. Like, suppress, right? Use the Pomodoro method. You spend the time, try to get through a certain amount of time. 25 minutes is a good recommended amount of time in order to have a work block, then take a break, and then come back. So those are far more effective than the switching in the moment. The other thing that is actually there are multiple other things that are very good that have been promoted, but perhaps not enough to students, is exercise. Exercise has great effects on attention and the sort of the broader thing that sort of sits above it that we can call executive function. for kids as well as adults. And this is both acute. So if you're finding yourself having difficulties focusing right now, actually a quick bout of exercise, some jumping jacks, doing anything for a couple minutes, 15, 20 minutes, will likely improve your ability to focus right then. But being at a higher level of aerobic fitness will generally improve your abilities to focus and to engage all these executive function skills, working memory, inhibitory control that we'd like.
So
that's
you're
the
saying
thing.
Exercising regularly
To get you to that
benefit. Okay, great.
Right. So, and then there's also this sort of internal state of attention. So there's we hear about mental health in teens. Rumination is something that can distract you from the task at hand, and meditation can be really good for managing sort of the things, the thoughts, self-talk that comes in that might be distracting you. It's not necessarily the external world that's distracting you, it's your own mind. And so for things like that, meditation actually can be a really a powerful skill to provide to a child, adolescent, so that they can learn to manage their own attention. Yeah.
And so how does meditation help?
Meditation sort of, there's a number of ways in which it helps, but being able to recognize that you have actually drifted off on a task and bringing yourself back is one of the practices in meditation that is extremely common. And so recognizing that you have drifted, you are no longer paying attention to math, you're thinking about something else, and that you should bring yourself back to that task and not with like a scold, but just, gently bring yourself back to the task and focus on it for that set period of time before your scheduled break is one way. But it's also just about sort of, in a manner of speaking, mental discipline, right? So recognizing how to gain that focus. This is, you talk about meditation, and it's challenging for kids who already have attention challenges. So I'm sort of reluctant to suggest doing something that's hard already. But this is one of the things that we found early on with our the attention training games that you use your eyes for, right? So if you've never really felt what it is to deeply focus on something, these games can show you, right? That's something that meditators can do, right? And as someone who has a PhD, I certainly had to do over the years where like, I could get so deep into something that someone's coming calling my name and they're not far away from me and I don't even hear them, right? Like I'm just, but right. A lot of people haven't had that experience, right? Or they can get so deep into something that's actually pathological and have a difficult time getting out. So being able to modulate that state is something that meditation can do for you. But if you can't access it, you want to do something that shows you what this is like so that you could practice this state and get back to it. And that's what we can do using these gaze-driven games. Using your eyes, we can show you what it means to focus. We can train you to focus more. We can train you to shift your attention quickly, accurately, suppress that look to the distracting thing. So this is sort of a support for individuals as they're, young children. All young children would have a challenge with beginning meditation. So, but this is particularly a support for kids who are struggling with attention skills, generally speaking. Yeah.
And these are the games from BrainLeap you're talking about.
These are now available through BrainLeap because, yes, as I mentioned, this trial was successful, and several of the participants really wanted to keep the games. They wanted to continue playing, and that was the first time where we really encountered the situation where it was like, well, we're just a lab, right? We have no way to like make these available to you. Right? We have no funding or support for like ongoing, like these are tech tools, like the eye trackers will break, the code will not work with 3 updates or what have you of Windows. Like it's going to happen. It's not gonna, So this is you have to move into the realm of a business entity in order to make these kinds of things available. And the university helped us do that. And so BrainLeap was created and has developed, I would say, far more robust tools than we were able to produce as a lab. With the funding available there. So yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that it's now more broadly available and that more children can access it. Absolutely.
And can you tell me a little bit more about the games? What are some of the things the kids get to do in this? I understand it's controlled with your eyes. Why is that important?
Sure. So we actually, most of the time, where your eyes go, your attention follows. You can actually separate them, but that's hard to do. So by using your eyes kind of as a harness, we can train attention, right? So most of the sort of attention or cognitive training tools out there try to harness attention without measuring gaze. But now that eye tracking is becoming ubiquitous, we could actually use those tools and get much better engagement, much better control, right? So these games do not work if you don't engage them well, right? So if you're sort of half, paying attention, la, 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 that it doesn't work for you, right? You cannot half play these games, right? So you move your eyes 3 to 4 times every second. If you're not completely dialed in to playing this game with your eyes, you will lose quickly. And so they demand your focus. The kids don't like that. No, most people, if you're playing a game, you want to win, right? So,
Right.
there's lots of different types of. There are 6 games now, I believe, and they all have different training mechanisms embedded in them to engage these components of attention that I described to you before, right? So orienting skills, fast and accurate orienting, being able to discriminate peripherally a target, a goal target versus a distractor, being able to focus steadily on a target at hand and ignore peripheral distractors that might pull you away from that target. And then again, this strong inhibitory control. So when you are going after a particular goal, being able to do so while suppressing potential looks, which we do often, these quick looks to other things, right? Being able to suppress that with gaze is really training the underlying attention machinery that controls that gaze. Yeah.
You said you move your eyes 3 to 4 times per second. I
Yeah.
mean, most people aren't aware of that, right? I
Correct.
mean,
And
I
good
certainly
thing.
know I'm not.
Well, good thing. You have other things to do with your time. You do not want to be aware of the 3 to 4 movements you make every second. You got better things to think about. Yeah.
So how do, if you're moving your eyes that often and kids and adults can be distracted, how do you not feel like your eyes are moving that much? I mean, we just don't notice
So
it.
as a professor, one of the classes that I've enjoyed teaching the most was a broad course called Perception, Cognition, and Reality. Because what it basically gets into quickly is that the job of your brain is to create a lie for you, a beautiful lie, but it's a lie nonetheless, right? It's to construct a reality for you. And so a large part of that is that there's a whole lot going on in the background. You are consciously aware of many things, but there's a lot going on that you are unconsciously aware of. And again, thank goodness, I do not have to control the beating of my heart. I do not have to focus on every breath that I make. I can even sort of, make myself aware of and try to change my heart rate. I
Right.
can change my breathing rate. I can control my gaze, but I don't actually have to focus on each of these things. There are automated systems that are taking care of that for me.
Huh.
And there's a lot of this going on, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that we can't become consciously aware and use it in a beneficial way to train the mechanisms that are associated with it. And that's the
Right.
principles behind the games.
So the games are bringing to conscious level a lot of things that you're doing unconsciously and helping children or whoever's playing train those skills. Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily about, training ongoing conscious awareness of where you're looking, but again, sort of engaging the mechanisms attention that the requirement of selecting where the endpoint of each eye movement and where it's not going to go is requiring you to be very explicit with those attention skills. And so engaging that repeatedly over time and practicing that will help you to call up those attention skills when you need it. It doesn't
Okay.
necessarily mean that, if you play these games, you're going to be stuck thinking about every time you move your eyes.
Of course.
Though it's not necessarily a bad thing to be aware of the fact that other people can see where you're looking, right? There's a lot of kids who aren't aware of that. And it's particularly young ones, I find it really fun. Like,
right.
I see you're looking at the cookie jars. I don't want a cookie. Like, you want a cookie. I know you want a cookie. Yes. Yes.
Got it.
Anyway.
Okay. So, that's really, really interesting. And I want to thank you for sharing with us today and spending the time. Is there any parting thought you'd like to leave with our audience about attention?
I want that magic wand and the PSA that, we do not switch tasks nearly as effectively as most people think we do. And we would be much better served as a society if we not only realized that, but really took it to heart and spent our time focusing on the task at hand and then sort of coming back and focusing on a different task or taking a break, right? As opposed to this, believing that we can do 10 things at once. It really is we're not doing those things well.
Multitasking is not real. It's just our perception of it. Yeah. Okay. Well, Leanne, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And I think our audience learned a lot from hearing from you.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed being here.
Thanks for giving me your attention for another show. We hope you learned something that you can apply right away. If you enjoyed the show, please rate us wherever you listen to your podcasts so that other people can more easily find the podcast. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.